kindly get Honorable Nyauntu and we'll be complete.
Honorable Speaker, quorum is now present.
Orders of the business.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I wish to welcome you back for our final leg before we close the year, because between now and the end of the year, there will be no break. We'll be running a marathon until we finish our calendar sometime in December. So I want to welcome you and remind you that every pending work has to be finished, including bills, legislations, motions, reports, all of them. We have to clear them by the time we are breaking for December. Because in January, remember, we are always busy with committee meetings and out of assembly activities. Then remember, in February, the only agenda that will be top of the agenda at the time will be the referendum question or the referendum bill. It will be coming to the assemblies in February, if we are to go with the timetable that was issued. So that means we need to finish up so many things. Number 2, following our resolution of our meeting we had last week, we agreed on timekeeping. In fact, we were 1 minute away from calling this session off. As I will remind, Honorable Fred had raised a very serious question that our plenary is normally delayed. That's why today, by 9:35, we were supposed to be here. Remember, in our timetable, plenary starts at 9:30. The chair and his team takes responsibility for previously, before last week's meeting, we've been at fault starting our sessions as late as 10. That's why I would understand why members are streaming in at 9:45. So that has changed. In the afternoon, it is strictly 2:30. Maximum allowable period is 5 minutes and 10 minutes of ringing of the bell. So total of, as per the standing orders, 15 minutes of the bell be rung for quorum. So from my side as the chair, I will ensure that we are seated at the plenary strictly. In fact, in the afternoon, it will be strictly at 2:30, so that we can give members an allowance of 15 minutes to be able to generate quorum, so that that becomes the order of the day. If you remember, honorable members, we agreed as a resolution that these small mistakes and hindrances should not be a problem. Thirdly, I wish to comment or confirm to the Honorable House, as per resolution again on the staff, you can confirm the staff are available and no single department will be hampered for whatever reason. However, that calls for our caution. I'm sure we've seen how the situation is snowballing with the community spread back at our homes and villages. So let's not take chances. I'm happy all members are compliant. I have noticed that from today morning, none of you was walking around even in the corridors without a mask. So I want to appreciate that. If we can maintain that discipline, and you can see we've installed a sanitizer at the entry. As you get into the assembly block, there's a sanitizer on the entry pale. So I would ask that we ensure we keep our discipline. Number 4, the clerk assistance should be done with a proposed committee timetable, which then has to be picked up by the liaison committee. I can see quite a number of chairs are seated. Honorable Boambok, Honorable Fred, Honorable Gideon, Honorable Mengech, Honorable Robert Kirwa, Honorable Ngetich, Honorable Singoe. Make sure, as we agreed last week, the onus is between the chair and the clerk assistant. And we've strictly instructed the clerk assistants that once we adopt the timetable between us, and it will be communicated to the floor of the House in the afternoon, so that the chairs, the respective chairs, can liaise and confirm the timings are in order, the timetable fits your schedule. Each member of the assembly is being covered across the week. Can see Dr. Sanga has joined us, he's also a chair. Once we have that in place, I expect the chair of the committee to be the person to ensure compliance. You come in, you are the one to mobilize your members. If you're not available, give a heads up early on to your vice chair or a member of the committee. Tell them, we'll assume the timetable says implementation committee meets at 10. So I would expect Honorable Gideon an hour before, 2 hours before, if he's not available, communicates to the vice chair and tells the vice chair that I may not be available, but our meeting is at this time. The clerk assistant must have prepared. In fact, we've instructed the clerk assistants to prepare every single thing so that the work of the committee members is only to show up, deliberate, make a decision, and by the time you call off your meeting, we ensure that the chair has signed the minutes because we want to be very strict on attendance at the same time work output. And to motivate the honorable members, we've tasked the clerk assistants also to do more research and bring to the attention of the chair the businesses that the committee can transact. We've picked that from Senate and National Assembly. It is the work of the clerk assistants to dig around and see that work is available. Anything pending, anything coming, bring to the attention of the chair, then the chair will now caucus with the committee members so that as members, you just arrive at the committee meeting, within 20, 30 minutes, depending on your schedule, you are able to finish. That is very important. Lastly, I would ask the honorable members if there is, I was made aware, I think by Honorable Komen, the Deputy Speaker was to call me, he didn't call me, about tomorrow whether you had an activity. Kindly confirm if there is any, so that, as we said, we want to do away with miscommunication. Remember, tomorrow we have plenary. So in case if there's anything, if members are not to be available, I need that communication urgently so that in the afternoon we can also consider it. We should stick to procedure. One of the lessons we learned bitterly the last 2 weeks is we have to do things procedurally. As we speak, today in the afternoon we have a session, tomorrow we have a session, both the morning and afternoon. So if there's any activity that affects membership to come to the floor of the plenary, I would ask the House leadership led by the whips, the majority, minority leaders, quickly communicate so that we bring it to the floor of the House so that we don't have confusion. We've told our staff to resume fully and they'll be here. So you can imagine plenary has been prepared and then there's no member because something has come up. Whether informal or formal, it is within your mandate to seek adjournment, to seek postponement. We can be able to do that, but we do it formally and we finish on time. Otherwise, I want to appreciate the committee budget for guiding us on ADP. So we would expect the report to be here. Together, I can see Finance Chair, although he wasn't with us for reasons that was communicated to the entire House. I would ask them to fast track that. Mheshimiwa Ngetich, in my table, I've received a copy of the finance bill. I think in the afternoon it will be brought after the House business has sat after this session for your committee to consider. For the remainder of the time, up to December before we break for recess, let us finish all the pending work. With that, I want to appreciate all of you for your understanding during our time of difficulty, and I also want to ask honorable members, communicate adequately to your residents and to your voters and to your people about the seriousness of COVID-19. All of us have a story to tell. There is no single honorable member here who doesn't know someone who they know that has passed. So I encourage you to be forthright and tell them that we take this thing seriously. The challenge we have at the moment, people are refusing to go to hospital because of stigma. So people would prefer to just sit at home, and that one hastens community spread. Before you know it, especially for the old, our grandparents become more exposed. So it is incumbent upon the honorable members. One of the suggestions you had sought about CSR as we go to December holidays, I think our main CSR will be tailored around, as we consider the vulnerable, it should be tailored around COVID sensitization and how to tackle that. So with that, thank you. That was the communication from the chair. Honorable Gideon.
Honorable Speaker, as per your communication, you have alluded to the fact that as per the schedule, of course, the communique from the two principals in the so-called handshake, that there would be a referendum bill probably by late January or February. You've also indicated that indeed that is the case as per the communication, and I would want to inquire whether, because the rallying call was read and understand, I'm trying to think aloud and around this issue. We know that there have been some sufficient budget to this particular committee at the national level. Apparently, we have not received any copies of this purported report. We are being served with the online material we are getting, and apparently sometimes there have been distortion here and there. I would want to inquire whether your office has sufficiently been, because this is the house that will be actually dealing with this matter in a more proper way. So I would want to inquire whether this assembly has been supplied with sufficient copies, not only for these elected members and or this house, but for purposes of dissemination of the information to our electorate. Particularly now that we know in Nandi here we have working ward officers, and even the nominated members of the county assembly have offices. Could we be supplied with this copy so that we can maybe probably now disseminate the same to the public for proper discussion on this particular matter? Thank you.
Honorable Gideon, I identify very strongly with your sentiments. I think I want to invite members to look at this process. It is very interesting. When the BBI was going around in the so-called public participation, I think the few members who attended, I attended briefly, and I remember Honorable Gideon, Honorable Kipkurui, Honorable Mengech, to name a few, were there. You remember how it was so choreographed. It wasn't an open session per se. And the reason why you find so many voices of dissent against this process is because in as much as we say we want to make it public, we want to make it inclusive, you don't see it in the process. Secondly, you remember when they were launching, they were supposed to launch, and we never even saw the launch because the president ended up talking about the deputy president not knowing how to run a relay. I never saw the actual launching. There was no document launched. And that day it was very embarrassing because the county assemblies never received a formal communication. Like myself, I was called by a lady and told, get us 4 members. So I asked the lady, who are these 4 members who are supposed to go to Bomas? He says, just get us maybe majority leader, majority whip, and maybe minority leader, and your deputy speaker, that's enough. I couldn't go myself because I felt it was very unprofessional. Even when we normally go out for our events in assembly, at least we have the courtesy of texting formally or writing formally that members are made aware. This one I was given a call. I didn't even have the number. You saw what happened in Bomas. I don't think there was any document that was formally launched. In fact, to the surprise of the House, I would want to bring to your attention, there are 2 sets of documents. There is the original or there is the big report that has been circulating mostly online, but it's not one version. There seem to be 2, 3 versions. Secondly, there's an addendum which was amalgamating proposed legislations, whether bills or amendments of existing laws. This second document, myself as a speaker, I'm unable to get hold of it, yet it is very important for us to consider because most of the devolution matters are found in this second document. I personally called the Office of Parliament, that is National Assembly, to ask if they have gazetted copies that we can run with and produce copies and show the members that this one we can see, there's a stamp here from Kenya Gazette, then we can come, we will personally, or we as Assembly will prefer, we will not wait for them to do for us. You can see how they are running. Now they're talking about collection of signatures. The documents are not out there, but they're already collecting signatures. So they're even putting you as a member of County Assembly in a difficult position. You as a member who does not have a certified copy of the document, a resident will ask you, Gideon, Honorable Gideon, when you walk to Nandi Hills, they'll ask you, what does page 90 say? You don't even know whether it gets to page 90. So they'll say, if the MCA does not know surely what is happening, we thought the MCA should be more. So that is a challenge, and that's why I identify very strongly. My proposal will be this. If you saw last week, we slotted in that short training for your perusal and understanding of the document. But however, now that we've resumed today, I would propose that this House gives the chair between now and Friday to be able to get certified copies of the two documents. We'll ensure that they are received formally here. We will print them. In the interim, allow us to avail copies for each of the members, all the 39 members. If there will be extra copies, we can still run for each of your offices. The ward offices, those are 30 of them, and then nominated. I'm sure some of your offices are co-shared. We'll just provide for the same. Especially the ward offices are more important because members of the public will